Hey, it's Elena Saradidis, and today I'm with Jonathan Hacohen. Oh, wait, it's not my show, it's yours.
Correct. This is the Chosen Life podcast. I'm your host, Jonathan A. Hacohen, author of Bible 3.0, The Six Commandments of the Chosen Life. And I'm here with my good friend, my soul sister, Elena, what's your last name again?
Saradidis.
Only the rainmaker, the guru of real estate in Toronto and surrounding areas. Elena, it is such a pleasure to have you back here on The Chosen Life. I know your schedule is absolutely whacked, so being able to get you in here for a couple weeks and share your wisdom in real estate and life, it's an honor.
Anytime you need me.
So tell me, how's life been this summer in Toronto, Ontario? How are things going with you and the Elena Saradidis team?
Oh my gosh, that's a loaded question, because now I'm like, do you want me to talk about real estate? Or are we talking about life? What are we talking about?
You got 2 minutes, real estate, go.
The real estate market is interesting right now. The condo market is pretty down. That's the best way to phrase it. Inventory is taking a longer time to sell. The house market, there's movement, but it's movement under the $2 million price point, and it's always dependent on the area. That's my real estate update. The team is doing great. The team is expanding. So we are currently actively hiring for different roles, but I'm super proud of them.
And I gotta say, being your in-house lawyer over at Kormans LP, we love your team, and it's great closing those deals. And it's funny because what I tell realtors in general, you don't have to send me always all the exciting ones with all the twists and turns. Let's do a bunch of boring ones, simple, sign, close, repeat, right? There aren't that many of them right now as there are in a hot market, I would say.
The boring deals?
The boring, the no twists, no turns, nothing exciting, just straight sign, close.
Do you know why? Because I think in this kind of market where things are a little bit more calm, agents can be a little bit more creative with their terms, which makes the transaction more complicated. It's not as straightforward. When it's a hot market and everything is moving and you have to go in firm, there's no conditions, the deal is done. It's more of a slam dunk. The deal's done. But now it's like, well, we want all of these things, or we want these adjustments, or we want a lot of conditions in there. So there's a lot more legwork required to do a transaction now.
Well, in segueing that theme into today's episode of The Chosen Life, I know you're well underway reading the Bible 3.0, and in there's a chapter that's near and dear to my heart, and I want to introduce it to the listeners today, talking about failure out of all things. And, both of us growing up in our respective industries and working with our respective people, not everything goes smoothly. Everybody sees you on social media and says, wow, you're so successful, you're so glamorous, you're jet flying, yacht riding, everything must go your way all the time. Elena, we're going to kind of peel back the layers here and let people know what you see on social media and all the successes. For every one success, at least 10 failures, will we say?
More.
Easy, right?
Yeah.
And there's a thing as far as failure goes. And people who are not as successful in life, that don't get what they want, they have their goals and ambitions, everything else, and things don't always go their way, they tend to blame those failures, and it makes them retract, kind of like Buddha over here, where they kind of hold back and they hold their head in their knees, and they just kind of give up. And in today's episode, I want to talk about how us as professionals deal with failure, and failure not being our enemy, how failure's actually our friend.
Well, have you heard the saying, fail fast, learn quick?
I have not.
Okay, so basically, the faster you fail at everything in life, the faster you'll learn. So the more you fail, it's actually a better thing because you'll actually learn a lot more, a lot quicker. If you figure out that these 10 things doesn't work, eventually you'll find out the thing that does work. So I am no stranger to failure. You're no stranger to failure. We make the nice little pretty picture that everything is going well, but people don't see the breakdowns. Can we call them breakdowns in the background?
Yes, I would call them breakdowns.
Let's call them breakdowns.
Yeah, they're breakdowns.
Like we're peeling back the curtain, right?
Yep.
So the breakdowns, I remember there was a period of time where my friends in my industry, we were on rotational breakdowns. We actually had a moment in time where every single one of us was having a breakdown at a different time. And I'm like, oh, well, it was your turn this week. It's my turn now. And we were just having breakdowns because things happen. This is a high stress environment. But the reason why there's benefits to it is because you have an uncapped potential in what you could potentially earn. So the question is, how many breakdowns can you survive to be able to get really good at this so you have an unlimited amount of money that you could potentially make. And it's not just about the money. Like, I'd be lying if I didn't say there was a portion of it that is, but I really love my job. If I won the lottery tomorrow, I would do it for free. So I would take all the bad days and still do it because of how much I love it. But the money does make it feel better on days that are really bad, on days that are fantastic. Like, it outweighs each other. So right now I would say if you're in an industry, any industry, and you're failing, don't consider it failing, consider it learning. You're learning what is right now not the thing to be doing, and eventually you'll learn exactly what you should be doing in order to be successful.
I always say that professional, personal are very, very similar. And the principles you use, for example, in a relationship, whether it's in business or personal, can follow the same line. And I can say before I came to Kormans LLP and working at different law firms, I thought that I disliked law. I thought that I was miserable. I don't like doing what I'm doing. Deep down, I felt like I enjoyed the tasks I was doing. I enjoyed working with clients and closing real estate transactions, but I kept feeling empty. I didn't feel fulfilled. And it became this spiral where I go in, day out, and I dread going to work, and I dread working with the people I'm going to work with, and people yelling at me, and clients, and whatever, and it all just gets compounded and compounded. And then when I put myself one day in that right situation, and I'm like, wow, I really enjoy working with my partners, and I enjoy working with my lawyers, my clerks, and I have a different mindset. The work hasn't changed. I'm still doing the same type of work. I still have the same clients that either laugh with me or yell at me, whatever. But I approached the work a lot differently, and I realized it wasn't the job I disliked. It was that I wasn't putting myself in the right position. I wasn't in the right place. No different than somebody who's in a personal relationship and they come in and out of relationships and they say, wow, I'm not a relationship person. I'm never going to get married, whatever being. Sometimes you have to experience what you don't want, what doesn't work for you, to appreciate when you do experience what you do want, what you do need. If you don't have those failures, if you in personal and in business, if you don't see what doesn't work and you don't see what you don't like, how are you going to appreciate what you do like? And that's the way I looked at it. And instead of beating myself up for years and years and years saying, why did I waste all these years? I'm saying, wow, I'm so glad I had this learning experience. Thank you, failure, because now I really appreciate where I'm at.
100%.
And so how do we help people today that look at failures and saying, this is going to bring me down. I'm never going to do that again because obviously this is not good for me. So there's no point in even trying. How do we shift the mindset from failure, I'm scared of you, stay away from me, to thank you, failure, for helping bring me up ahead?
I think that's the exact way that you change your mindset. You have to start thinking that failure is the best thing that's ever happened. It's like, oh my God, great, I failed. I learned this is not the way to do it. Let's fail a couple more dozen times until I'm extremely good at what needs to be done. So how often can I fail until I can do it?
Imagine the people out there, Elena, that have career changes in their 40s, 50s, 60s, okay? These are people that could easily say, you know what, I should have figured it out of college, university. I stayed in the same industry for 20, 30 years. I'm stuck. I'm done for. People, no matter what age, no matter what income bracket, education, for them to be able to step and say, I have a passion. I see a goal for myself. And what I'm doing right now isn't necessarily working for me, but I'm going to shift it. How do they do that? How do they do it, let's say, at an advanced age when many people would say, I'm just going to give up at this point?
I think that's a great question. The problem is I don't think I'm the right person to answer it because I haven't had that experience yet.
But you've seen people in life.
I have.
The funny thing is, you don't have a PhD in this stuff, but you're interacting with people all the time. You work with people at all sorts of levels in real estate, right?
And the funny thing is my industry as a whole is a second, third, fourth career choice.
Bingo.
And I think that's where you're leading to.
You got it.
This is the thing. People get into this industry for different reasons, and it needs to be because you actually genuinely want to build relationships with people and to help people. And it sounds corny and it sounds cheesy, and people are going to be like, that's not the right answer. But like, that's what you need to have in your mindset. You actually want to help people because the first few years in this industry are not fun. Like I'd be sugarcoating it if I said it was the easiest time in the world. Like I never cried. Like, oh my God, I cried all the time. But it happens and you have to get through it. So if you want this to be your career, if you are changing second, third, fourth career, it's not easy for anyone. And to be honest, you actually have an easier time when you're that age because people assume that your age will equal to years in the business when it doesn't necessarily correlate. So if you're older and you're thinking of real estate second, third, fourth career, it's not necessarily the worst thing in the world. It actually will give you a leg up, in my opinion.
I could tell you the most heartbreaking thing in real estate, working with realtors as I do, I can't even begin to count the number of realtors in their 20s that shining stars, have the energy, the hustle, doing well in the industry, and all of a sudden, some sort of adversity hits. Pandemic comes out, inflation, interest rates, life situation, marriage, divorce, kids, moving, whatever it is, and all of a sudden, some kind of blip externally happens and the mindset shifts. They stop doing all the things that brought them to being successful, blame those external circumstances, and saying, yeah, I guess I'm not cut out for real estate. And man, if they could have just stuck with it, seen through it, if they could have done everything they did at the beginning and followed that through, they would be leaders today. A lot of them today, I'm thinking of, are not even in the industry anymore. Does that surprise you?
Doesn't necessarily surprise me, but I also think it's coming from a naivety. Like people get into this industry thinking they're going to make a lot of money and this is going to be an easy job. It's 9 to 5. Or they can work whenever they want to work because their job is flexible. This is not a 9 to 5. It's you work whenever you can work. Like you even saw when I came into your office today, we didn't get to talk until the camera started because I was in back-to-back phone calls.
I can confirm that.
That's my life though.
Yeah.
So your whole life outside of real estate needs to be okay with the fact that you are always on call. And you're not a doctor. So it's not like you're saving lives, but you're always on call. If the deal needs to get done, the deal needs to get done. I don't think I told you this story, but I'm going to come out of this for a second. We're all friends. I had a dinner planned with a group of friends of mine. And I try my hardest when we do plan dinners, when we plan excursions, that I either leave my phone or my laptop at home. Yep. So I left my laptop, came to dinner. I did send an offer before I went to dinner. The offer expired the next day, I think around noon. And I go, they're going to sign it back to me regardless. I'm like, I have time. I go to dinner. I get a call from the agent saying, so great job on the offer. We're going to sign it back to you. Shocker. But we're only giving you until 9 p.m. What day. Time do you think it is right now?
8:37?
It's 8:20. Okay, I don't have my laptop. I called Dan and told him Uber my laptop to the restaurant. I opened up my laptop in the middle of dinner and did the transaction. Now, some people are going to think like that's actually crazy. You're out at dinner, delay it. But the difference is my clients want this property. They've given me a deadline. I told the agent I'm at dinner. Yeah. The timeline is 9. We have showings tomorrow. Either your client accepts the offer tonight or we do another deal tomorrow. What are you going to do? You answer the phone, you do the deal. Yep. And you have to have very understanding friends and family that are okay with the fact that this is going to be the career. Every day, if the phone rings, the phone takes priority. The client takes priority. Yep. It's shitty, but it's true. And you have to be okay with it. So if you're not okay with it, it's not the industry.
I was speaking with a broker about this morning, actually, and he was mentioning how he introduced me to a client as a real estate lawyer, right? He said they ended up contacting 2 lawyers, you and somebody else, getting a quote and deciding who they're going to hire for their real estate purchase, first ever real estate purchase. He said they sent out the email at 10 p.m. You responded back at 10:30 p.m. that night with the quote and the list of next steps. The other law firm didn't get back till over 24 hours later. Very simple quote, not all in pricing, and maybe we're going to be like $200 cheaper. And they said, do I want the lawyer who's on the ball with me and giving me the steps, or do I want somebody that gets back to me when they feel like it? So I got the business. And that's the difference, that at the end of the day. And no matter what we're all doing, we're listening today, whether you're a real estate lawyer, a realtor, you sell cars for a living, flower shop, whatever it is, there's one thing I always say is about those hot leads, When somebody is coming to you and saying, I got referred to you by so-and-so, and I'm looking to retain you for these services, you can look back on your experience saying, wow, I had 100 leads and 0 of those 100 leads came through. I think you need to ask yourself, okay, you can see those as 100 failures, or it took me 48 hours to respond back to each of those people, versus if I responded back within an hour and I gave my best foot forward, would I have made those failures successes? So very often we can sit and blame failure, but very often did we take accountability for what we did in it?
And I think each industry's response time is a little different. Like for a lawyer, 100%, an hour later, totally acceptable. In real estate, you have minutes. If you don't call them back within minutes of them contacting you, they've moved on. It's clickbait. They're on the internet. They're clicking through a bunch of agents. Whoever contacts them back first wins. And we've had agents that are on our team that I'll ask the client afterwards, like, what happened? Why did you choose to work with them? And they'll say they were the first one to respond back to me. Half the agents didn't even respond back to them. The other half responded when it was too late. I've already decided to work with her. So response time is the key thing in this industry, the key thing in any industry, getting back to people. It's not rocket science. It's just get back to people.
And this is where, as we're reflecting and we're ending today's episode, I really like people to think about long and hard again. Things go well in life. Things do not always go well in life. Some things were in our control. And we can recognize that and say, hey, I didn't put my best foot. I could have done things a lot differently. And that's a great learning experience to not repeat those same errors. And sometimes there are things that are out of our control. It's externally. We did everything humanly possible. I always tell myself, you did your best, more than your best. You couldn't control how somebody else was going to react or how something was going to happen. And I'm okay with that, because if I keep doing it the same way over and over in the right circumstances, this is going to hit for me. So don't reflect on those failures that don't sink in and don't work out for you. Think of it, learning experiences, growth, and man, I'm going to do a lot better next time, because having that kind of experience behind your belt, the people who I know who are uber wealthy, uber successful, were not successful every stretch of the way. Most of them fell on their faces several times, maybe lost all their money, changed industries. The ones that are hunting and hustlers, they're the ones that are going to persevere. Somebody who just had it to them from day one and never had to work for it, never had to fight for it, one sign of adversity and they go hide. And that's not the approach. Take it as learning, grow, failure is your friend.
To be honest, that's what I look for too. When I look for a team member, like, have they failed? Like, I need to know that they've gone through hard times so they understand, A, how good they have it. And also, like, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. Do you get back up? How quickly do you get back up? Let's see where this could go. And the same thing with a client. Like, this sounds bad, but I like being the second or third agent. And people don't understand why. And I'm like, I like being the second or third agent, because if they've gone through one or two agents and those agents have disappointed them and then they get me, they appreciate having me so much that they're like, you're the best agent we've ever worked with. But if they get me from the start, they don't know. They don't get it.
They don't have that measuring stick.
They don't.
Like the clients, the best clients I have that are in place with me now are the ones that were with me for whatever reason, maybe tried out a different lawyer in between because somebody referred them or something, and they had such a bad experience. They said, wow, I really appreciate what I had before. Then they come back and then they stay. One of the things I always saw in you from the first day I met you and started working with you, Elena, is that hunger, that passion. And I always thought to myself, if I was a client working with her, I'd be motivated because I'm saying she's hungry, she's motivated, she'll go that extra mile. People like to work with hungry people. People that know what it's like, not sure if they're gonna be able to pay their next bill, and know that they can't eat at every single restaurant that they like or have to live on a budget. You know, somebody that knows that kind of survivorship. No matter how well you grow into the future and how successful you are, you never forget those days of hunger and survival, and that always motivates you. So I would tell people, when you're speaking with professionals and learning, you can tell who cares about you and wants to work with you versus when you're just another number.
And the thing too to remember is, like, the more the person has failed that you're working with, the more things that they know can go wrong, so they can prepare you for it. Like, I have a couple clients that are looking to do renovations right now. And I'm like, I know exactly who to call. I know exactly who not to call. Don't do what I did. I learned from my mistake. Don't do the same mistake. Do this instead. This is how I learned. I've done X amount of projects now. I've kind of cracked the code. This is exactly who you need to call. This is exactly what you need to do. This is how much it's going to cost. But I didn't just learn that. I went through it. I overpaid for contractors. I've had, if you go through my Instagram, you'll see I had an episode of my contractor stole my windows. Everything that could have potentially happened. You remember this? Yeah, because I called you.
And you called me at like 11 o'clock at night. Yeah, I remember.
I realized I had no windows. Failing is not a bad thing. It's shitty in that moment, but all those failures, all those things that I did, all those learning curves, we'll call them learning curves, not failure, learning curves, have made me into a better agent. Because now I can help my clients either prevent the situation or tell them what to do to prevent that happening. It's a whole different ballgame when you've failed so many times or when you've had so many learning curves that you can now talk to them transparently and say, this is what I did, this is why it didn't work, this is what you should do, and this is why you should do it.
And so with that energy, we'll come back next week. We're going to bring Elena back because now understanding the building block of failure, we're going to introduce you to the secret of how to succeed and one of the biggest building blocks you'll need. And hint, you don't do it by yourself. This has been the Chosen Life podcast with Elena Saradidis. We'll see you back next week and we'll see what we're talking about.